Ethan Carter had never been to Blackwood Manor before. In fact, until a week ago, he had no idea the grand estate even existed. Then came the letter, a thick, yellowed envelope sealed with wax. It bore the name of an attorney he had never heard of, summoning him to a small town in Maine for the reading of a will. The journey from New York to Blackwood Hollow was long and tedious, the town itself shrouded in perpetual mist. As Ethan drove through its narrow, winding roads, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and as he reached the manor, a gust of wind sent dead leaves spiraling across the gravel driveway. The house was massive, its Gothic architecture looming against the gray sky. Gargoyles sat perched on the corners of the roof, their stony eyes staring at him as he parked. The front doors creaked open before he could knock, revealing a butler with a face as wrinkled as the parchment in Ethan's pocket. "Mr. Carter, we've been expecting you," the butler said in a voice as dry as brittle paper. "Please follow me." Ethan stepped inside, his sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. The interior was just as imposing as the exterior. Dark wood panels, towering bookshelves, and an eerie silence that seemed to swallow sound whole. A massive chandelier hung above, unlit, its crystals dull with dust. In the grand study, a group of strangers sat in antique chairs, their gazes fixed on a man standing behind a large oak desk. "Ah, Mr. Carter. Right on time," the man said, adjusting his spectacles. "I am Charles Henshaw, executor of the late Ambrose Blackwood's will. Please have a seat." Ethan hesitated. There must be some mistake. "I don't know any Ambrose Blackwood." "And yet," Henshaw said with a smile, "you are named in his will." The room fell silent. Ethan took a seat, his heart pounding. "Ambrose Blackwood was a wealthy, reclusive man," Henshaw continued, opening a thick leather folder. "No children, no known relatives until now. It appears, Mr. Carter, that you are his grandnephew and his sole heir." Ethan blinked. "That's impossible. My family never mentioned him." "Be that as it may, he has left you everything. The house, the estate, and a rather substantial fortune." Henshaw's eyes twinkled. "Congratulations, Mr. Carter." The other attendees shifted uncomfortably. One, a tall man with graying hair, scoffed. "This is absurd. My family has served Blackwood Manor for generations, and he gives it all to some city boy." Henshaw sighed. "I understand your frustration, Mr. Langley. However, the will is clear. Mr. Carter is the rightful heir." Ethan barely heard them. His mind reeled. An entire estate. A fortune. Sounded like something out of a novel. But something didn't feel right. Why would a man he never met leave him everything? That night, Ethan wandered the halls of his new home, trying to shake the feeling that he was being watched. The candlelight flickered as he passed family portraits, the faces frozen in time. Then something moved. A whisper, soft and urgent. Ethan turned sharply. The corridor was empty. He swallowed hard and kept walking, but the whispers followed him, slipping through the walls, curling around him like smoke. His breath quickened. He turned a corner and came face to face with a door he hadn't seen before. It was old, its wood scarred with time, a rusted lock hanging open. Heart pounding, he pushed it open. Inside was a study untouched by time. Dusty books lined the walls, and an ornate desk sat in the center, its surface cluttered with yellowed papers. Ethan stepped closer, his fingers brushing over a leather-bound journal. The name embossed on the cover made his blood run cold. Ambrose Blackwood. With trembling hands, he opened it and began to read. November 3, 1952. The whispers have returned. They slither through the walls, calling my name. I fear I have made a grave mistake. Ethan frowned, flipping through the pages. The entries spoke of shadows moving in the night, of whispers in the dark, of an entity bound to the estate. Then a final entry. To whoever finds this, I am sorry. The inheritance is not a gift, but a curse. The house is alive, and it will not let me leave. Take heed. You must break the bond before it is too late. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the candle. The room plunged into darkness. Then a voice, low and rasping, spoke behind him. You should not have come. Ethan spun around, his breath caught in his throat. A shadow loomed, its form shifting, its eyes two burning embers in the darkness. Plunged. Ethan stumbled back, crashing into the desk. Papers scattered as he scrambled to his feet. The whispers grew into a cacophony, filling his head with pain. He ran, slamming the door behind him. The hallway stretched endlessly before him, the portraits now twisted, their painted eyes hollow and hungry. Somewhere in the depths of the manor, a clock struck midnight. Then silence. Ethan stood frozen, his breath ragged. The whispers had stopped. Slowly he turned back toward the door. It was gone. No door. No study. Just a blank wall. He fled to his room, bolting the door behind him. His mind raced. The journal had warned him. This house was not just bricks and wood. It was something else. And it did not want him to leave. Morning came, the sunlight an illusion of safety. Ethan packed a bag, determined to escape. He sprinted to his car, heart hammering. He jammed the key into the ignition. Nothing. The engine was dead. A cold dread settled over him. He turned to the house. The windows, once dark and empty, now gleamed with unseen eyes watching him. The shadows stretched toward him, beckoning. Then the butler appeared at the door, his face calm as if nothing was amiss. Leaving so soon, Mr. Carter? Ethan swallowed. I need to go. The butler nodded. Very well. But remember this. Blackwood Manor does not give up its heir so easily. Ethan didn't respond. He grabbed his bag and ran. As he reached the gates, the air grew thick, pressing against him like unseen hands. He pushed forward step by step until he broke free. The moment he crossed the threshold, the weight lifted. The whispers ceased. The sky seemed brighter, the air lighter. Ethan didn't look back. He got a ride to the nearest town and never returned. Weeks later, he received another letter. It was from Charles Henshaw. Blackwood Manor has found a new heir. Ethan burned the letter and never spoke of Blackwood Hollow again. But sometimes in the dead of night, when sleep eluded him, he swore he could still hear the whispers calling his name.